So I'm really excited about this webinar, very excited to talk about nutrition as it relates to caregivers in CF and so many other topics that we're going to discuss. Joining us is Michele Ciancimino, who is an integrative nutrition certified holistic health coach. And Michele also has an adult daughter named Alexa with cystic fibrosis. So thanks for doing this webinar with us. We really appreciate it. The CF community is always looking to get more information, right?
That's right. I'm excited. Yeah, I get a lot of questions from people, and this is my area. So I really want to just help and support. I think the caregivers are sometimes kind of pushed aside, and of course we want to take care of our kids with CF or whoever we're taking care of, but we've got to take care of ourselves. So let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, I know that you have some slides for us, so you can feel free to open those up as we get started talking about cystic fibrosis and caregivers.
Okay, let me go here. As Laura said, I am also a CF caregiver, so I assume that anyone watching this would also be someone taking care of someone with CF. And even if you are someone with CF, I think I've got some information here that's valuable for everyone about nutrition. So,
and really, it could be anyone. It could be anyone. And if you don't have CF and you're a caregiver, someone with a chronic illness, it's all so helpful because the caregiver is just so overwhelmed, and has so much to do at all times. So
a little bit about my story. This is my daughter, Alexa. She was diagnosed with CF when she was 2 years old. And I, at the time, was working as an attorney. I had no clue about anything about health or CF. I had never really, maybe I had heard of it, but I didn't know much about it. But I kind of made it my job to start researching what I could do to make a difference. I read everything that was available. And back then we didn't have Dr. Google or anything like that. So it was books, and everything I was reading was pretty terrifying. So I started just researching alternative types of care. So we tried everything from herbs to acupuncture to homeopathic medicine. And something kind of came along that I read, which was just an old quote, but it kind of struck me. And it was Hippocrates saying, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." And I thought, that's interesting. Well, maybe there's something to that. Like, could food be that powerful? I had never really thought of it. But when I kind of set out to change her diet, and not just hers, the whole family's, because we all are one unit eating together. And so when we changed all of that, and I'll talk a little more about that as we go, her health changed, our health changed. So I really could see that there was a lot of value in nutrition. And fast forward to 2013, it had become such a passion of mine. I had moved out to Las Vegas from the East Coast, and I didn't want to go back to practicing law. So I became certified as a health coach so that I could spread the word about the importance of nutrition and for CF, but for everyone in every condition. So that's what I do now. And I'm really happy to say that I am helping clients with personalized nutrition, and also clients in the CF community, families, caregivers. So it's very fulfilling to be able to make a difference for people in that way. So can you see this?
Yeah. And I think it's a huge thing as well that you left your career as an attorney, because when our lives change, everything changes. When you have kids and the need, you rose to the need for your daughter and for your family. And I just think that that's a fabulous thing that you've done, and that you've made it work for your family. And now you're able to share it with us.
Yeah. And as I said, I think the caregivers, we put ourselves on the back burner, and just moms in general do that. But when you're a mom and you're dealing with something like CF, you're really just focused on that child, and everything about yourself kind of goes to the back. So, we tend to give and give and give until we drop. But, I want to talk about why it's important. And just in general, these are some of the statistics about caregivers. So the average caregiver, and this is just in general, not in the CF community, is a 49-year-old woman. And family caregivers actually face more health risks, and those are physical and emotional risks. And 54% of female caregivers are managing one or more health concerns of their own, as opposed to 40% of non-caregivers. So more of us deal with health challenges, and it all goes back to stress, I believe. So women who identify themselves as caregivers have higher rates of emotional distress, 2 to 3 times higher. And 20% of them are actually clinically diagnosed with things like anxiety and depression. That's double of what the general population is faced with. So, and another 60% of people are actually showing signs of depression. So, we are a group of people who are really in need of some care of our own. I always talk about how, we're all susceptible to burning out if we don't take some time for self-care. And I know this is a presentation about nutrition, and I'm getting to that, but I think this is a really important piece, because self-care is not selfish. It's necessary to take care of yourself. So I like this saying: give the best of you, not what's left of you. So, you can't pour out to other people from an empty cup. You need to really support your own health. So it just means taking care of you so you can stay well, do your job. Some of us have jobs outside of just taking care of the kids. Self-care, when you're doing it regularly, helps you to cope with the mental stresses when they do come along, because it goes in waves, right? So, so when those things come along, if you maybe get a regular massage, or you just do something that's good for you, I'm finding that people now more than ever are feeling more anxious and overwhelmed, and that's just with everyday stuff, just getting through the day, not even the CF stuff or any escalating health issues, but just getting through the day can be challenging, and just not being able to slow down. And that's part of self-care, like finding ways to, we're never going to get away from the stress, but finding ways to manage it that are going to be helpful to you is really the key. So that could be meditating, massage, making sure you're sleeping enough, spending some time outside, taking breaks from your technology, journaling, whatever that is for you. It could be different for everyone.
Yeah, I think those are all so true, and that probably everyone can relate to. And part of that, as I know you're bringing it back to nutrition, but part of that is when, at least for you and I, because your Alexa's 28 and my daughters are 27 and 24, so it's before newborn screening, and it's at a time when we were told high-fat diets. Give them Sundays, give them a stick of butter, give them
I'm gonna get to
everything. Right. And that kind of set you up for, oh my gosh, the whole family is gonna be on this high-fat diet. And I'll let you take over from there, but that's kind of where we started.
So, and it matters, right? So self-care matters, but the food matters. And, you might be thinking, well, why does it matter? I know a lot of people don't connect what they eat with how they feel. But I always think of the different challenges that we have, like, finding the time to cook dinner. Like, maybe these sound familiar to you. Like, you found the time to make dinner, but you put the food on the table and you realize your CF child, like there's no way she's eating this, and then you have to go to the chicken nuggets. Or maybe you were told you have to eat the healthy fats, or your child needs to gain weight with healthy fats, but now you're the one who's gained all the weight and your child has stayed the same. And then you start to wonder, like, well, what is healthy fat? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, how do I include this in my diet so that I'm not unhealthy? And how do I get this balance of trying to feed everyone the right thing? And sometimes people just feel like, you know what, it's too complicated to make healthy meals happen, and I don't really know where to start. Or maybe you do plan a wonderful dinner and you have a clinic appointment that drags on all afternoon, and you end up scrapping that plan and going to Chick-fil-A or something. So, you know, maybe you've done your grocery shopping for the week, but somebody ends up in the hospital, and then you have to put all your other commitments on hold, you know, for your long-term relationship with the cashier at the cafeteria, and a whole buffet of unhealthy choices. So, you know, you don't have to throw in the towel. You know, we can make healthy happen, but why? You might be asking why it matters. So, you know, nutrition, food is really the fuel for your body. Everything that you eat either builds up your health or breaks it down. And I want to make a distinction here between real food and processed food. So real food is the vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, and seeds, all the things you see here, wild-caught seafood, organic, pasture-raised meats, dairy, organic, and eggs. Processed food is everything in between that's in a package, right? So packaged cereal, muffins, granola bars, cookies, crackers, chips, even the frozen dinners, bottled sauces, dressings, all the drinks. There's so many different ingredients in these things, and the processed food is really not helpful to our health. And, you know I'm hard on processed foods, but I have reasons for that. Actually, 60% of the food that we purchase in this country is processed food. The problem is that they're loaded with sugar and chemicals and different additives and preservatives, and those are put in these products to help extend their shelf life or improve their taste or their texture, but they don't do well for our body, because lots and lots of science has shown that these products contribute to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune conditions, inflammatory bowel disease, cancer, and even anxiety and depression. Food does affect your mood, and these chemicals really can mess with us. And, as caregivers, we already talked about how we are more prone to things like anxiety and depression, and the stress can make us more prone to different health concerned conditions. So we want to do what we can to minimize our risk of those things. So going more toward the real food and limiting the processed food is going to be really helpful. One study showed that eating just 50 grams of processed or red meat daily has been found to increase cancer risk by 18%. So that's just a small hot dog or a couple of pieces of bacon. So we know that probably you might eat more than a couple of pieces of bacon. And so, the risk just goes up and up the more of these foods that you include in your diet. So, I just want to highlight just the danger of that, and just why we really need to stay more toward the real food. So, so that is a concern. So just kind of summarizing those things, kind of made this into a few different tips, but just eating more processed or more real food and less processed food. So ask yourself when you're choosing your food at the store, is this made by nature? If so, that's real food like plants, vegetables, fruits. If it's made in a factory, then it's a processed food. So again, that kind of mantra and using that as a guide in your choices will make a difference for you as a caregiver and your whole family. So one of the nutrients, now we can do a lot to support our body during stressful times. So That afternoon when you end up with the clinic appointment all day and all of that, or you end up at the hospital for a couple of weeks. One of the nutrients that's really important for stress is magnesium. So when you feel stress coming on, your body goes into a fight or flight kind of state. And what that really means is that, like if you think of our ancestors running from a tiger or some kind of wild animal, your body has to like reprioritize. Like you don't have time for digestion. You don't have time to absorb nutrients. You don't have time to metabolize and do any of that stuff. Your body is strictly focused on running from a tiger. But that's the state that a lot of us find ourselves in all the time. And it's just kind of the way of the world. And magnesium is a nutrient that can support us in getting through that and getting out of that fight or flight state. So you don't want your body to reprioritize and not be able to digest efficiently. You want your body to do all of its other jobs. If it's just focused on running from the tiger, it's not going to do any of that other stuff effectively. So what happens though physically is that when your body is stressed, calcium floods into your cells. Magnesium is supposed to come in. If you have enough magnesium on board, magnesium comes in and kicks out the calcium because the calcium is turning on the stress response in your body. Magnesium is going to come and push the calcium out of the cells, turn off that stress response, and turn on the relaxation response. So we need to have enough magnesium in our bodies to be able to do that. We don't want to be running from the tiger all the time. So magnesium is very important. So the problem is that 70%, more than 70% of us are actually deficient. We don't even meet the recommended daily amount for magnesium. And we need about 400 milligrams a day. A lot of people will tell me that, they are tired or they don't sleep well. And they can't relax, they can't turn off their brain. So magnesium is helpful for that too. So focus first on food is what I always tell my clients. Food first, and supplement is just what the word says. It's a supplement where your diet's falling short. We can supplement to make up the rest. But if you're eating these foods, the food is the most powerful way and the easiest for your body to assimilate. So nuts and seeds, leafy greens, whole grains, beans, legumes. So just for some context, what 100 milligrams of magnesium would look like would be a couple of tablespoons of almonds, a cup of cooked brown rice or quinoa, just half a cup of beans. So it's not hard to get to these things, but when you're eating a diet that's high in processed foods, you're kind of crowding out all of these healthy foods for the granola bar and the, whatever, the coffee from Starbucks with all the whipped cream and all that stuff. You're not getting these foods. So really focusing on adding in magnesium rich foods is going to be helpful.
And I also found, sorry, I just wanted to say that, just in what you're talking about, even when my daughter was recently hospitalized, I was bringing, we can, if we have time, we can prep a little, right? We can bring apples, we can bring some almonds, we can bring things that we can throw in our bags that, because the food in the hospital is so challenging. It's made great strides as far as getting more healthy for people, but it's a whole different thing for a caregiver too to eat in the hospital because you're not getting it in the room. But and
you can throw in the trail mix. There's plenty of pre-made trail mixes that are much healthier for you and meet some of your magnesium needs better than something you might grab at the cafeteria. But the next nutrient I want to talk about that's necessary for stress, you're seeing these all, right?
Yes, they're working lovely.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Well, at least we don't have full screen, but at least you can see something.
Yep.
Okay. So when your body is stressed, you produce a hormone called cortisol. And to create cortisol, you use vitamin C. So vitamin C gets quickly depleted when we're under stress. So and also your insulin remains elevated when you're stressed. So that can lead to the storage of any excess glucose as fat. So if you're eating too much processed food and sugars to get through the hospital stay or whatever, you don't have time to eat, or you're just stressed and you're eating all this processed food that's high in sugars, you're storing your body uses what it needs, and your insulin will stay high because you're stressed. So all that extra sugar gets stored as fat. And that's typically what we see as belly fat. So so vitamin C is going to be really important under times of stress. And it's going to, while the vitamin C is helping the body to reduce that cortisol or to lower that, it's also playing a role in getting all the other hormones balanced. Also, an important thing to note that low vitamin C levels are also linked to anxiety and depression. So some of what we face as caregivers, we can help with some of these nutrients. Like I said, we can't get rid of the stress, but we can give our body what it needs to deal with it. So that we're not gaining all this weight and we're not risking our health, because, there's so much that we can do. So
and this also gives me an idea to have someone like yourself, or someone, because our kids get the nutritionist right from the beginning. It's part of your clinic visit. But if there is something in tandem for the parents, the caregivers, the grandparents, whoever is taking care of that child, it's just, I think would be helpful to all caregivers.
And that's what I'm doing as a health coach.
Start.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing as a health coach. I have some clients who have CF, and I have some who are family members, and trying to balance, how do I eat? How do I make one meal rather than being a short order cook? And how do I make it happen for everybody? So this is like your CF child. I call them CF stars. I don't like the word CFer. I know they call them that all the time, but I just call them CF stars. So they're stars to me. So anyway, so this is one of the things that we can do, and that I would suggest anyone do. Packing portable vitamin C rich snacks. Like you can grab an orange or like a little kiwi and steamed broccoli. You can just bring little containers, and if you're going back and forth from home to the hospital, you can do that, or you can get some healthy takeout. My daughter and I, last time she was in the hospital, we really specialized in door dashing everything to the hospital lobby, and I would just find the healthiest places and just get our dinners from there. So anyway, 500 milligrams of vitamin C a day is about the recommended, but in times of stress, the upper limit is a couple of thousand milligrams a day. So, your CF star can work with their doctor on that and ask what's right for them. But for the rest of us as caregivers, your body doesn't store vitamin C. So whatever you're not using, your body will get rid of. So it's not a worry to take too much. So you can take the 2,000 a day. It's going to support your body too. Okay, let's go on to the next thing, hydration. Hydration is kind of a really overlooked part of good nutrition, I think. Everybody is dehydrated. Like dehydration is just like a chronic issue. You probably do a good job of reminding your CF star to drink their water, but you really need to be drinking it along with them. So, I mentioned earlier about the stress of being around the hospital. A lot of people cope with that by drinking lots of coffee and energy drinks. And, that's not where true energy comes from. True energy comes from eating all these healthy foods and drinking enough water. And plus, caffeine is a mild diuretic, so that can affect your hydration status too. And So it's really important that we stay hydrated because it helps to regulate your body temperature. It helps prevent infection. I mean, you can get sick while hanging around the hospital too. So lubricates your joints. It improves your digestion, improves your skin, your energy, and your metabolism. And it also helps escort nutrients into your cells. So water has a lot of important jobs that it does. So I always recommend, if you are a coffee drinker or an energy drinker and you're relying on those, at least go 1-to-1. If you're drinking 1 coffee, drink 1 water of like an equal amount. So alternate. And so you're at least flushing out that caffeine from your system and you're getting some hydration. And then try to drink half your body weight in ounces of water daily, and even more if you are someone with CF who's watching. But for the rest of us, half our body weight in water is a good thing to aim for every day.
And I also think too, when you're in the hospital with your child, they're always getting water, right? They're always, the nurses are always giving them water, but maybe the caregiver, I mean, they also will ask if the caregiver wants water, but if you can pack your, your container with you and bring it to the hospital, then you can pack in the ice and pack in the water and stay hydrated with your child as well.
Yeah. You can go and be prepared, right? So another nutrient that's important is potassium. So potassium, I can't talk about hydration without talking about potassium. And potassium's like the hydration enabler, or I call it the escort service too. It works to bring water and water-soluble nutrients like your B vitamins and your vitamin C and antioxidants. It helps bring those to your cells. So you might be eating healthy food and making good choices, but if you're dehydrated, those nutrients are not making their way fully to the cells. So you really need the water to escort them there. And it works kind of in as a team with sodium to maintain a balance of fluids in the body. And adults need 23 to 3,400 milligrams daily. So of course, most of us do not get enough. A lot of people will tell me, well, I eat a banana, so I get enough potassium a day, but that's only 400 milligrams. So that's a start, but we definitely need more than that. So potassium, avocados, yes, bananas, potatoes, there are lots of sources. So that's another place that we could do a little bit better so that we are getting the nutrients and the water is helping to escort those nutrients. So they will sort of work together. So I kind of summarized this into a tip. So try to include some magnesium-rich foods, potassium-rich foods, vitamin C-rich foods. This is good for all the time, I say, because we are falling short in some of these nutrients. But especially in times of stress, you need to pay attention to those things. Again, stay hydrated, drink half your body weight in ounces of water daily, and do the 1-to-1 thing with the coffee and water. And that will help. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about healthy fats. So let me go into that a little bit more. As you started to say earlier, we always remember the old advice that we received from our care team for our CF stars, which was to feed them anything and everything that's not nailed down. Go to fast food, ice cream, milkshakes, candy bars, all you want. And that was all good. But now as the life expectancy, although that never sounded good to me, that just didn't sound right. And I wasn't even in the health field at that time, but that still did not resonate with me. But anyway, now that the life expectancy is much higher, which is wonderful, the advice has shifted to, okay, include healthy fats. But now we've all kind of been trained to eat this way. And maybe your CF star is eating an unhealthy fat diet, and you've maybe been eating the same way. Now it's sort of a retraining process that everyone's going through together to learn what healthy fat means. So So let's talk about fats a little bit in general. Fats have important jobs to do in your body. Some people feel like, oh, I shouldn't have fat at all. My child can have all of this, but I shouldn't have any. But that's not true, because the right kind of fat does help your body. It helps control the inflammatory response in your body. It helps bring or escort those fat soluble nutrients into the cells, which are the A, D, E, and K vitamins. So the potassium brings in the water soluble nutrients, the fat brings in the fat soluble. So when we take these vitamins in, we want to have healthy fat with them, because that's what's going to escort them into your cells. So fat also helps regulate hormones, burn fat, which sounds like it doesn't make sense, but fat does help burn fat, and it helps build healthy cells. All of your fats are surrounded by a little layer of fat. So we want to have healthy fat so that we are making healthy cells. So some fatty acids are called essential, which means that we must get them from food. You might have heard the term essential fatty acids. So those are things that we have to get by food or supplement, like omega-3 and 6. So I won't go too much into detail about those, but nutrition is really personal. Everybody's needs are different. So like your needs are different from your CF star's needs and the other family members. So everyone's needs are different, but just in general, we want to kind of stay focused on mono and polyunsaturated fats. So now even among CF people, I want to say that it's different for them too. So personalized nutrition is kind of what I do with people. So everyone's body is different. And even among people with CF, some can't handle large amounts of fat at one time. Some have no problem digesting something that's really high in fat. So even among them, it's different for everyone, but just in general, healthy fats are mono and polyunsaturated. So those are things like avocado, olive oil, olives, nuts and seeds, soybeans, fatty fish like wild salmon. What we want to limit or avoid is the saturated fat. So that's what's coming from red meat and full fat dairy products, tropical oils like palm oil. So that's where we get the saturated fat, and even coconut oil, although coconut oil has some health benefits. So it's more of a moderation thing there. So if you're going to include a saturated fat, coconut oil is a good one because it does have some benefits. But generally, the full fat dairy and the meat and some of these other tropical oils are the place where we could maybe limit those and include these other ones. So as I said, if since it is personal, if your CF star needs more fat in their diet, and again, some are trying to gain weight, some are trying to lose, even with CF. So if they need extra, you can add extra. So you can all eat the same meal. You just can allow for some extra to be added. So drizzling extra olive oil, or you can make the same smoothie in the morning. Maybe yours is made with unsweetened almond milk, and the CF star has theirs made with full fat canned coconut milk if they're needing to gain weight. Or maybe you put a quarter of an avocado in your smoothie. Maybe they have a whole avocado in their smoothie, or half. So you can kind of change things up according to people's needs, but you can still plan for the same meals.
Can I ask you a smoothie question? So sure. I think sometimes people can think if I'm making a smoothie, it's healthy. Doesn't matter what you put in it. Yeah. So how do you decide, is everything green healthy that you put in it? How do you figure out the good smoothie recipes?
Yeah, I actually have a little formula that I use where it's like you want to use a liquid. So that could be an unsweetened almond milk. So depending on your personalized path, right? So it could be the full fat coconut milk if you're struggling to gain weight. But generally a liquid, something green, a healthy fat, like maybe nuts, nut butter, avocado, some protein. So maybe that's a protein powder or some hemp seeds, And then we want to do some fruit. So it's also a great opportunity to add a lot of colors. So staying away from things that are like higher sugar, like some protein powders have a lot of sugar added. So you want to read labels in that case. But yeah, just following that formula is a good way. Just having your healthy fat, some protein, and maybe something green, a little handful of spinach, or even powdered greens are great if you're not getting enough greens in your diet. Yeah, that's generally what I suggest. And, just going back to the personalization thing, Trikafta and these modulator drugs have really changed a lot of things too, because as I was talking about, people were sort of trained to eat this high saturated fat diet back in the day with those recommendations. And now more people with CF are that are on these drugs are gaining weight for the first time in their lives, and they don't know how to manage it because they've never had to, and they've never had to learn what is healthy fat. And I know that the dietitians at clinic, they do a great job, but they don't always have a ton of time to really dig into the personalized nutrition, like what specifically should I eat, like what works for my body, how much fat can my body handle, and just kind of doing that detective work to figure out what works for each person. So the other thing with them now gaining weight is that their health concerns are, because their bodies are working like they're supposed to, their health concerns are becoming more like what the rest of us are facing, right? Like heart disease, diabetes, obesity. Those are the challenges that just the general population faces. So, now those are things that we're foreign to them, but they need to now be mindful of because they are at risk just like everyone else. So kind of balancing the needs that they have for nutrition with making healthy choices is becoming super important. And also I wanted to just add that including vegan and vegetarian meals can be done in a healthy way. If you've been someone with CF or a caregiver and you felt like, well, we all have to eat this high saturated fat diet, lots of meat, and just get the calories into that CF star, we don't have to do that. We can start with like a meatless Monday, and it can be the same thing where we add lots of healthy fat, like meals with avocado and lots of beans and nuts and things like that. There are ways to make that happen. So just another little tip here, reducing the saturated fat in your diet, and I'm talking to the caregivers here, to about 10% of your total calories. If you do have CF, talk to your doctor and your care team about their recommendation on that. But focusing on the mono and the polyunsaturated fats is really good for everyone, because that's good, healthy fat. And that's, that's going to do the best for our body. And including a healthy fat in every meal and every snack. I really believe in just balance, having just healthy protein, fat, and carbohydrates at every meal. So what it could look like would be something like an apple with almond butter, hummus with crackers or carrots, and maybe a protein shake with some nut butter or some Greek yogurt with some berries and nuts. Those would all be good choices. And I do get questions about micro and macronutrients. So I just wanted to add in a slide on that. We need both of these, and macros are what we need in larger amounts. That's why they're called macro. So that's just protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And the micronutrients are everything else. So the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all those amazing plant chemicals that we get from eating those plants. And micronutrient deficiencies, which if you are eating a diet that's high in processed food, chances are you are deficient in magnesium and some of the other nutrients that we need. But having those deficiencies can negatively affect your immune system, which can predispose you to infection and unhealthy weight gain and chronic health conditions, just increasing your risk of disease and even affecting your mood. So then my tip there is really to start to think about eating a rainbow of colorful foods more often. So when you eat too many processed foods, as I said, you're not getting in those colors. So if you remember the rainbow colors that Roy G. Biv from whatever grade we learned that in, those colors have superpowers. Every color has different effects on your body. So just for example, red foods are good for your eyes, your immune system, reduce your risk of disease and prevent infection. Blue foods are great for cognitive function. They also reduce inflammation in the body and reduce your risk of disease. Greens are probably the most powerful. They contribute to healthy skin, slow down the aging process. People who eat lots of greens just have a glow. And even improving your bone health and your heart health. So we get a lot of nutrients and a lot of support for our body and reduced risk of disease from including colors. So that's my tip there. I actually have something I use with clients called the rainbow evaluation. And I'm happy for anybody watching this to just shoot me an email and I'll put up my information at the end. But if you want to fill out this evaluation, it's kind of just a quiz and you fill in your responses and we kind of see where you are with your rainbow nutrition and if you're getting in enough of those colors. And then we talk about ways that you can, I'll be happy to go over the results with you. That's just a free thing that I do. But yeah, just to kind of give you an idea of where you're at and where you could go that would improve your health. And if you want to make it a family thing, if you have a family that's a little competitive, over on the right there, I have this rainbow tracker where I've done this with families where you can have everyone in the family fill out their own tracker for the week, who can get in the most colors. And I'm telling you, like kids actually like doing this, and they will eat the colors because they want to win the game. So it's a great way to sort of train everyone to kind of get on board with eating some colors because
it's fun.
It's so supportive of health, but it can be fun too. So last couple slides here. I just want to give you a couple of tips about making better nutrition happen at home. Good nutrition really just starts with a plan. That's when we get into troubles, when we're just kind of not having a plan and just flying by the seat of our pants. So we really want to have a plan and a backup plan. And so I recommend planning out in advance 2 or 3 healthy dinners for the week. I'm a big fan of cook once and eat twice, where if you cook a dinner on a Sunday, you can eat it Sunday and Monday. Maybe you cook 2 dinners on Sunday and you're good through Wednesday. So just kind of planning that and making enough double batching things is a good idea. Creating a set grocery list, picking out those recipes you want to try, and scheduling regular time to do your shopping. And then also being prepared with healthy snack options when there's nothing around and you just have a lot of unhealthy processed foods around you. Like if you work in an office, they tend to have the worst things in the little break room. So being prepared with your own snacks around is going to keep you on track. And there are some ideas there. And of course, meal prepping in advance. And then it really is doable. I hate for anyone to feel like they just throw in the towel because things just don't happen. They tried and the plan's not working. If and when the plan doesn't happen, that's okay. It's good to have some meals that you can create from staples you have in your pantry and or your freezer. So if you keep canned beans and broths and tomatoes and things like that, like you can create healthy soups, or you keep tortillas around and you can just put together something simple like some vegetables, a veggie quesadilla or something like that, like something you can just throw together in a few minutes, and some salad greens and things. You can make a salad and a veggie quesadilla, super simple. I also recommend build your own for families, especially. Like the little picture there is like a bowl. You could do like a make your own bowl where you have some grains and some roasted veggies and some things on hand that you can create, or a salad bar or a sushi bar. And that way, kids, especially if you have picky kids, will tend to eat something that they had a hand in creating, and choosing. So that is a really good strategy if you're a mom who's struggling with the chicken nugget syndrome and that's all your kid wants to eat. Just let the kid help you go to the store and plan, like, what colors do we want to have this week, and what would you like to put together? And when they have a say in it, they're likely to eat it. And then also having some breakfast and lunch and snack options to rotate. Maybe you just have a regular repertoire of the things that work for you, and what those things are. And that's fine. On those busy days, rely on the things, like, don't start creating something from scratch that's brand new and you realize it's going to take you an hour and a half in the kitchen. Just have some standbys that will work for you. I have a little breakfast download. It's a little ebook, 5 or 6 recipes, healthy breakfast ideas. You can go to my website and grab that, which might be helpful. And then again, you can add some extra calories, salt, whatever your CF star needs. Throw a handful of nuts or seeds, or give them a larger portion. That always can work. And then here's my information. If you need some personalized guidance, we can talk about how a personalized nutrition plan can be great for your health and your whole family. That's my website, goodnessgirl.com. I do complimentary consultations, like if you just want to explore whether something like that is right for you or would be helpful to you. Happy to talk to anyone. If you want to do the rainbow evaluation, just shoot me an email. Oh, I forgot to put my email. It's michelle@goodnessgirl.com. And it's Michelle spelled with 1 L. So it's MICHELE @goodnessgirl.com.
And we'll put it up too. We'll put the information up as well. Great. But this is all great information. I think so many caregivers and people will get so much out of this, hopefully they can, check in with you and get more ideas. I think it's wonderful. I think everything you're doing is great. I know we talked about our girls, all 3 of them, really switching their eating habits, and they feel so much healthier. My 2 are vegetarians and they eat so healthy. I was just visiting my daughter overseas and she cooks the healthiest, most wonderful foods. It's That's just awesome. Beautiful to see, the transition.
She's healthy, right? She's got energy and
she does. My gosh.
That's where the energy comes from. It's the real food. And I think a lot of people don't put it together that what I'm eating is equal to how I'm feeling, like what I put in. So it's like what I said earlier, if you, food is your fuel. So if you put milk in the gas tank of your car's not going to go very far, and you might even do some damage. So likewise with your food, if you're putting a lot of processed food in there and you're not getting all of these nutrients from the colorful foods we're talking about, from the rainbow, your body's not going to go very far. You're going to be exhausted and depleted. And so there's so much to it, but it is personal. So so if anyone needs me, please reach out.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And
thanks for doing this.
Yes, this is great. We learned a lot. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Laura.